Welcome, everyone. We'll give it some time for people to join. I just noticed about 10 minutes ago that um, I must have missed adding this to LinkedIn. So I just did that about 10 minutes ago. So we might have a smaller group today as there wasn't as much notice. Or maybe people have just showed up because they were expecting it anyways. So we will see who joins us today. And in the meantime, while we're waiting to begin, let me know in the comment section, as always, where in the world you are. I am in Sweden, as usual. I am from Toronto, Canada, but I am based just outside of Stockholm now. So I'd love to know where you're joining from. You can also let me know if this is your first time joining a Thursday Live. Maybe you've joined on a Monday with Sarah May. And you can also let me know what your familiarity is with compassion practices or breathing practices, which we'll explore the two of today in tandem. So using the breath to tune into this quality of compassion. So nice to see a lot of people joining on LinkedIn, even though I was a bit late in scheduling it to LinkedIn today. So we have Edgar joining on YouTube from the Netherlands. Welcome. Jennifer's in Massachusetts. Mark is in Southern California. Someone on LinkedIn, I can't see your name, is Murcia in Spain. Mark joins us from Houston, Texas. Abdul Latif is in Dubai. We have another person on LinkedIn joining from Los Angeles. It's Edgar's first time here. Welcome. Jessica is in Dallas. Robbie, England. Anna, Oregon. Joanna's in Ireland. Hello, Miljulis from Miami. Nice to see you again. Lori is in Austin, Texas. Shanique is in Philadelphia. Shannon, Portland, Maryland. It says greetings from Venezuela. Jennifer says very familiar with these tools of compassion and breathing. Valerie, first time here from Dallas. Edgar's done a couple of mindful exercises. Parthiban is in India. And Paula, welcome. Nice to see you back in Philadelphia. Wishing you an easy birth. Veronica's in Toronto, Canada. Welcome. Yeah, so this will be my second last Thursday live stream. So unfortunately, next week will be the last session of these meditations as I'll be going on maternity leave. That will be my last day, actually. Next Thursday, the live stream will be my last work hour, I guess you could say. So it's really been a pleasure to lead these Thursday practices, and I know Sean Fargo, who runs Mindfulness Exercises, him and the team are working on a new membership program to continue facilitating community. So maybe in the new year, I'll see you over there, some of you. Pamela joining from Atlanta. Rebecca in West Haven, Connecticut. Marilyn in Venezuela. And thank you, Valerie and Mark. So it looks like most people are joining from LinkedIn as usual. And thank you, Edgar and Miljulis and Parthiban. Thank you so much. It's nice to see familiar names and new names. Everyone is welcome here. And it seems just from the few comments that came in, there's probably a mix of experience and familiarity with mindfulness practices and breathing exercises, compassion practices. There's nothing you need to know in order to do these practices, you'll be guided along the way. Um, but I will say, with all meditations that I lead, and something you can bring to all meditations, generally speaking, is that everything is an invitation. At least I can speak for myself when I lead a practice. If something doesn't feel right with you, if something feels like it's too much for you, or you need to ground your attention elsewhere, if you need to gently open your eyes for a moment, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself is entirely welcome. Um, while at the same time being aware of the monkey mind that might just be looking for distractions, or an easy way out of having to sit and be present. So it's finding that balance. Irasu from Ottawa, Canada says, "Have been attending Sean or Sarah May, your session since February, and learning a lot about meditation practice. Beautiful." Saskia is in Germany. Ferda is in Turkey, and Anthony in San Diego. So as always, the practice might be 15 to 20 minutes or so in length. And then afterwards, we have plenty of time for comments and questions and reflections. So just let me know at the end of this practice how it went for you, if there were parts that were easier than others, just what your general experience was like. I'd love to hear from you afterwards. Edgar says, "I'm going to lie on my bed for the exercise." Yeah. So, you're welcome to find whatever posture works for you. Typically, seated is recommended, but you're more than welcome to be lying down. Some people like to stand. Essentially, any position that you can remain, have an upright posture. And if you're lying down, just kind of like an open and alert posture. And then also have this sense of relaxation. So we don't want to be stiff, and we don't want to be too relaxed. We want to find that presence, that openness, alongside the this sense of being comfortable and relaxed. So you can just take a moment now to find whatever posture you'll prefer for this practice. And the intention is to stay relatively still. But of course, we don't need to be super strict or stringent with this. But the invitation is, if you need to move, just maybe seeing if you can take pause before making adjustments. And if you do wish to or need to make an adjustment, doing so mindfully. So just settling into whatever position you're taking on for this practice. You can gently close your eyes or lower your gaze. And just take a moment to check in with the body. So just notice if there's any areas of subtle contraction that you can gently let go of or soften, just to help you sink into this practice, to be more open and receptive to this practice. You can close your eyes gently or have your gaze soft towards the floor. And again, just scanning the body, maybe softening the forehead, your jaw, shoulders and your arms, all the way down to your hands, your belly, your legs. Just softening into this practice while still maintaining that alert posture, that posture of presence. Maybe take 2 or 3 clearing breaths. Softening a little bit more as you exhale. And then just let the breath flow naturally. As you take a moment to rest your attention on the parts of your body that meet the surface beneath you. So starting at your feet and just gently scanning upwards to notice what parts of you are in physical contact with the chair or bed or floor beneath you. Just noticing what it's like to be held here, grounded and supported. Just noticing any sound distractions. As you remain connected to the physical space that you are in. Noticing where the mind goes and letting your awareness drop back into the physical body. And then from these points of contact between your body and the surface beneath you, just letting your attention rise up and into your breath. And if it feels comfortable, noticing the way the breath flows into and out of the heart space. Otherwise, you can let your attention rest perhaps on the nostrils or the belly, if that feels more comfortable. But just seeing if you can rest your attention on the heart as you breathe into and out of this part of your body. And as you breathe in, seeing if there's a sense of expansion, however subtle it might be. And as you exhale, a softening, a releasing, a surrendering. Just noticing that dance between expansion and softening, the contrast between the inhale and the exhale. And then as you breathe, and as you notice this contrast between each inhale and each exhale, noticing how as you breathe in, you are receiving from the world around you. You are receiving that life force and energy and nourishment of the breath. And as you exhale, you are giving back. You are sending energy back out and into the world. So feeling this dance of receiving and giving. And imagining that the nurturance that you're receiving from the earth, the nurturance of the breath, is imbued with compassion. So welcoming universal compassion into your body, into your entire being as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, sensing into the breath as if you are giving back compassion to the world and to all beings within it. Breathing in compassion, expanding your sense of compassion as you inhale, and sending it back out as you exhale. Knowing that compassion is abundant and that there is enough for us and all beings. Now we can give and receive compassion abundantly. If there is any resistance to either receiving or giving compassion, just noticing this resistance. knowing that we're not here to force anything to feel true or present for us. We're just exploring what might be possible. Maybe opening to compassion just a little bit more than when we first sat down here for this practice. If it helps, you might imagine somebody who loves you, who cares for you, somebody, some animal, or even a place where you feel safe and supported. And inhaling the compassion and nurturance of that being or that place. And as you exhale, seeing if there's anybody in your life you'd like to specifically send your compassion to. Maybe offering this person or this place a compassionate wish as you breathe out. And then maybe sensing into the presence of the others who are meditating together right now. And as you exhale, seeing if you can send this energy of compassion out to all beings, all of us who are here meditating together. And as you inhale, receiving the compassion of others who are sharing this practice. And then taking just a few more moments on your own to breathe compassion in any way that feels most natural to you. Welcoming compassion into your body as you inhale, and sending it back out as you exhale. And before we close this practice, maybe bringing a palm to rest on your heart. And perhaps silently repeating, may I give and receive love and compassion in equal measure. May I give and receive compassion with abundance. Letting your hand come back down to rest in your lap in your own time. Feeling into the surface beneath you. Maybe taking a deep breath or two. And slowly opening your eyes whenever you're ready. So, welcome back, everybody. And take your time, bring any movements into your body that feel comfortable for you. And my apologies for the knock at the door and the dogs barking and chasing. I do think that's always a good opportunity to notice where the mind goes and then see if we can come back. So I would love to know how that practice went for you. Um, was this a practice that you were familiar with? Um, I actually don't know if I've seen variations of this done, but not quite this exact practice. I mean, every practice is a bit unique with the wording. But essentially it wove um, the breath into our capacity to, I would say, cultivate, but really more sense into or allow our capacity for compassion. So again, these practices, my hope is that um, they're not uh, taken in a way that we are expected to feel certain things, but that we might explore where we can open to or naturally sense into what is innate within us. Um, so Juan said, "Great, wonderful." Edgar said, "The dogs made me giggle." Wonderful. Me too. But it's interesting, even for myself, noticing my mind, oh, this shouldn't be happening, and what am I going to do? But then, just moment by moment, this too shall pass. Silvio said, "Thank you." I would also love to know if there was any challenges or resistance to either giving or receiving, depending on the day, depending on what we're going through. Um, sometimes the receiving of compassion, opening ourselves to allow compassion from others, from the world, can be more difficult. And at other times, our hearts might be closed in terms of our capacity or willingness to send out compassion. So if there was any distinction that you noticed between these two, if one felt more challenging than the other, let me know. Hamoon said, your role in today's nerve-disturbing world is equal to a super heroine, hoping you always be healthy and prosperous. In the not too distant future, people will really appreciate your help. Thank you, Hamoon. So now, I don't know if you can hear this, but now there is a huge... We'll really appreciate your help. Now there is a huge hailstorm just outside my window. So lots of distractions today. But we will carry on. Jennifer said, beautiful, felt my heart open wide. Wonderful. Mars said, hello from Tampa, Florida. Getting on the call late. Hope it's recorded. Yes, this will be recorded and it will remain posted. I see you're on LinkedIn, so it'll show up in the mindfulness exercises thread there. Jennifer said, I struggle allowing compassion in. However, I bleed compassion easily for everyone and everything. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Often self-compassion is much more difficult for some people than giving compassion to others. Many of us have very, very difficult relationships with our own being. And there can be a lot of resistance to letting ourselves either receive compassion from others or from our own heart and our own internal capacity for love and for care and for tenderness. So I would definitely recommend, I think this is a great practice just to notice where there is that difference. And then maybe what types of practices we might then focus on. So if we're struggling to allow compassion in, and yet we can typically offer it to others with ease, then maybe self-compassion practices are a good place to start. Kristen Neff has a website. The comment section. I just shared it to YouTube and Facebook, but I'll just go to LinkedIn quickly and share it there. So if you look in the comments, if you go to most recent, it'll be at the top there. So yeah, I think it's wonderful just to notice where there is that difference and using that as a cue for in what ways we might be able to grow. And again, this can change from day to day, from moment to moment, depending on what we're experiencing. And so the whole energy of mindfulness is about curiosity and non-judgment and, just being curious about what's going on for us, being gentle and tender with ourselves as we do that. And some loving kindness practices, actually the one that I led last week, which will be somewhere in if you scroll down quite a bit, excuse me, I did a loving kindness practice or a metta meditation, which is where you go through a sequence of various people and you offer compassionate words or phrases to these people. And often those practices start with offering compassion to ourselves and then extending to someone we love and care for, we feel neutral towards, and so on and so forth. But in last week's practice, I started with somebody who we love and care for, progressed in the usual sequence, and then circled back around to the self. And so doing a loving kindness practice in that way is really helpful if we do struggle with self-compassion, if that doesn't come naturally to us, because it can kind of soften and open the heart and then allow us to include ourselves in that energy of care. So just some thoughts there for you, Jennifer, and thank you so much for sharing that. Edgar said, I couldn't control my mind. I thought I was breathing in compassion, and the next was dealing with the situation of today. Yeah, totally common. That is, I'm sure everyone on this call is familiar with that. That's the mind's nature. That's the monkey mind. It is very quick to get distracted, to try and escape the present moment. Um, and so when that happens, it's just so important to notice it and recognize that that moment of noticing it is mindfulness. That is what we're here to practice. Again, this is a practice. It's not something, I mean, if we were all always present, we wouldn't need to practice. Um, so that's just a helpful reminder. We're not here to never be distracted or to never have thoughts, but how do we react or respond to those thoughts when they do arise? Can we just gently, lightheartedly say, oh, there goes my mind, and then just come back as many times as we need to, again and again and again. And some days will be more difficult than others. So thank you also for sharing that, Edgar. Carolyn said, so lovely. Stumbled on this unexpectedly. Would love to join in again. Wishing you well with your maternity leave. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Yeah, I will be here next Thursday. And a colleague, Sarah May, leads them on Mondays. I'm not sure for how much longer those will be happening. As I mentioned in the beginning, we will be exploring a new way of building community through mindfulness exercises, through another platform where we'll offer some more live events like this. But until that happens, and again, I don't know exactly until when, but Sarah May will lead meditations on Mondays at 8 a.m. on this same channel for now. Nancy said, I was a little late. I was wondering if you could discuss compassion, how you define it and relate to it. Yeah, so compassion, compassion for me is, well, I've heard that compassion, some say that in order for there to be compassion, there needs to be suffering. It's our capacity to send care and love. It's to others that need it. And ultimately, we all need it. Ultimately, all humans suffer. So compassion really is this active energy of care and loving kindness, this active well-wishing towards others. We can offer compassion through practices like this, where we're sensing that energy and we're building it up and we're sending it out energetically, so to speak. And then we can also turn compassion into very tangible action, such as how we show up for other people and how we respond to people's suffering when we're faced with it. Through our words, through the things that we do, through the ways that we support people in very tangible ways. And I relate to it, like for me, compassion is this heart-centered quality. It's for those that are familiar with the chakra system, there's 7 major chakras, the heart being the center of them. And the heart chakra really holds this energy, our capacity for compassion for the self and for others. So it's a two-way street. It's not just about what we can offer in terms of love and care for others, but what we can offer to ourselves and what we can receive. And so that's why a practice like this, I think, really highlights that beauty of being able to relate to it from this perspective of it being something we give and receive. Just like the breath is this dance. And that's how we find balance. For instance, in one of these calls, somebody brought up the challenge of, well, even as we spoke about, somebody else commented a bit earlier here, it can be easier to give compassion to others than it is to allow compassion for ourselves. But the compassion, I think it might be a Jack Kornfield quote. Do not quote me on this because I could have it wrong, but compassion is not complete unless we include ourselves. So if we are always doing things for other people at the expense of our own well-being, then our compassion is out of balance, and we need to be able to nurture ourselves, set boundaries. Boundaries, I think, is another really important practice and point of exploration for developing compassion in a really sustainable and grounded way. There's a lot that could be said about that, but really, when we take care of ourselves, we are typically doing a service to others as well. We enhance our ability to show up for other people when we nurture ourselves. And even, no's, saying no, or having limits, that can be compassionate for other people too, because it facilitates their learning and their growth as well. So yeah, I think it's important to explore compassion from both of these angles: compassion for self, bringing it into ourselves or cultivating it within ourselves for ourselves, and then also extending it out to others. Let me see. Mars said, I have racing brain a lot, and I'm either in craving or resistant mode. I wake up in the middle of the night with racing mind. Any tips on this with mindfulness coming out of sleep? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And at the moment, especially, I can relate. Being pregnant, I'm waking up a lot in the middle of the night. And some nights, if my mind gets caught on, a worst case scenario type of situation, it can be difficult at first to, calm the mind and ease the body. But one thing that I'll suggest, which is I think is my go-to practice when I wake up in the night with a racing mind, is to first just feel my body in contact with the surface beneath me. So just to feel my head resting on the pillow, and then to feel the rest of my body resting on the bed, and to feel the blanket on top of my body. So just sensing into that physical support, the way that we did in this practice, essentially. And then scanning the body from head to toe, just noticing as many parts as in depth as I can, or as you wish, seeing where I can soften, and just going from head to toe, and maybe coming back and doing it again. So body scan practices for me have been the most helpful techniques in the middle of the night, because they're often linear, or at least that's the most common way of doing them, linearly, either from head to toe or toes to head. It's something that you can easily guide yourself through. And if you're not familiar with body scan practices, let me see if I can find a resource. Actually, maybe I can find something specific for sleep, which will include body scan practices and other things. The breath can also be really helpful for sleep. When we are caught up in the mind, when we're stressed, when we're anxious, the breath is often quite shallow. And so it's helpful first just to notice this. And then gently, without force, seeing if we can deepen or soften the breath. bear with me here. I'm just going to see if I can find some resources that can help. So I'm not sure if you're already familiar with body scans, but that is personally my go-to. But you can also explore the breath as well. Can't seem to find the specific blog post that I was looking for, but probably do have something else. So I'm going to share, this is just a Mindfulness Exercises blog post, which includes some exercises for sleep. And yeah, I don't know if there's actually any body scans in there, which is interesting. But nevertheless, there's some useful information that may be supportive for you. And on the Mindfulness Exercises website, there's also a search bar. And so you can use that search bar to search body scans or any particular practice that you're looking for. So I hope that helps. Rasu said, followed 4-7-8 breathing technique to give and receive compassion. It worked well. Wonderful, Rasu. That's another breathing technique, Mar. It's called 4-7-8 breathing technique by Dr. Andrew Whale. And that is said to really help the nervous system to relax. So again, 4-7-8 breathing technique. You can have a look and see if that sounds like something that might support you. And with this type of breathing technique and others where we're controlling the breath and counting it out to be a particular way, I just always want to note that it's important to take it at your own pace. I mean, it's typically quite soothing for the nervous system, and yet at the same time, we're all wired differently. The breath is not always grounding for everybody, so I would say look it up and see if it feels like it's something that might support you and modify it as you need to. Thank you, Mildred. I'm glad you enjoyed the practice. Edgar says, I was very calm watching, looking at the situation and exited by the silent mind. It's beautiful. I think you're speaking in terms of the monkey mind, noticing when the mind gets distracted. Annie says, thank you so much. Any suggestions how to heal with PTSD? So working with trauma I'm not trained in trauma. It's not my expertise. But I do recommend, potentially working with somebody who ideally has training in trauma, who knows how to work with trauma safely, because mindfulness practices, while they're very helpful, they can also create space for past trauma to arise. So we just want to be very careful with it. One resource or teacher to look into is David Trelevin. Last name spelled, so it's David, first name, last name spelled Treleaven. So again, David Trelevin, Treleaven. And he wrote a book, I think it's called Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness. So that would be a good place to start. Lori said, the dogs are relatable. I have two, and like so many other things around us, it's outside our control in the moment. Loved your perspective. Yeah, for those that are just joining in, there was some dog barking, knocking at the door early on, and a phone call. I just remember the phone call came in. So a lot of action, but it is. I think this is mainly what mindfulness trains us for, to manage the interruptions in life. the challenges. When everything is peaceful and calm, whether that's our external environment or the internal one, mindfulness is much easier. But how do we relate to those things that shake us or unsettle us? So it's good just to notice and practice responding to those distractions with patience, with curiosity, and with compassion. And dogs are very unpredictable. So are knocks at the door and phone calls. Edgar said, you also talked about tangible compassion. I cry often for other people. Yeah, there's a lot of suffering that we can tap into. When we see suffering in others, it, connects us to our own humanity and the humanity in others. Yeah. Nancy said, I really looked forward to your sessions. Do you have another way we can hear you if this platform goes away? Your style is wonderful and so real. Thank you, Nancy. I will share my Insight Timer channel if anyone would like to practice with me there. Where am I posting this? Okay, let me just go to LinkedIn and share that there as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to practice with me on Insight Timer, I have recorded meditations there. And I do hope to do some live meditations through Insight Timer in the new year as well. I'm thinking I'll come back to work part-time, lead some more practices in February-ish when I get into the role of having a baby in my life. So I do hope then to offer more practices through Insight Timer and also through the new platforms that we're working on with Mindfulness Exercises. But I would love to connect through Insight Timer. You can probably find my website as well. And I do have a mailing list there where if I do have live events, I share them as well. But the website just verbally is Gillian Florence, spelt in the way that it showed up here, GillianFlorence.com. So thank you, Nancy, for your words, your questions, and your presence here. Yes, Annie, when I finish this call, I will respond to your comment specifically in LinkedIn with David Trelevin's name. Thank you, Edgar, says I'm leaving. Thank you very much, and loads of strength on the birthday. Thank you so much, Edgar. Richie says the body scan is a great example to come totally in contact with your mind and body. Absolutely. In the middle of the night, we can get so caught up in trying to talk ourselves through whatever is going on. But, for me, it's been most helpful actually to just put all of that on pause, because there will always be different voices inside of us that keep us in this stream of worried thought. And just coming back into the body, coming back into our senses is so, so, so helpful. So thank you for emphasizing that, Richie. Valerie said, any good resource about boundaries? Let me see if I can find something on boundaries. The one thing that comes up, and this isn't specifically about boundaries, but there is an article on how to practice mindfulness in relationships and mindfulness. It's not quite Doesn't have much conversation about boundaries. Let me have a look, and if I find something, I will share it specifically in response to your comment, Valerie, on LinkedIn. But yeah, so that's all of your questions and your comments for now. But yeah, if there's anything else coming in, we have a few more minutes. But if not, again, next Thursday will be my last session, and I think my heart is really drawn to practices that bring us in touch with nature, and sensing ourselves as part of this beautiful earth. So it may be a practice on that. We'll see for sure, but I will schedule that in the next few days. So for those that want to join me, that can join me next Thursday, it will be great to have you here for my last Thursday meditation before maternity leave. And if not, some of you might be in the teacher training program. I support Sean with a variety of things for mindfulness exercises. And you can also find a ton of my meditations from previous Thursday sessions in YouTube and LinkedIn. So again, these are recorded, so the past ones will be are available as well. So yeah, thank you, Valerie. Thank you, everybody who practiced, who shared your heart, who opened your heart to giving and receiving love and compassion. And yeah, I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day, and may we all move through this day as much as we can with this intention to give and receive love in equal measure, and notice where we might struggle with one versus the other, and get curious about how we might open our hearts in that regard a little bit more if possible, and where we can get the extra support if we need it. Metta meditation, METTA, or loving kindness meditation, can help us slowly expand our capacity to give compassion to others. And there's also plenty of self-compassion practices to strengthen our capacity to care for and love ourselves. So thank you again, and I'll see some of you here next Thursday. And if not, all the best, and hopefully I'll connect with you in the new year. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Richie. Take care, everyone.